Fun little break. We are back now with the founder of tomorrow. Welcome Etan Butler, who's going to be interviewing Galiano Tiramani, founder of BOXABL. Gentlemen.
Hello, everybody. Etan Butler here, Chairman at Dalmore Group, and I'm here with my good friend Galiano Tiramani, who is the founder of BOXABL. BOXABL is the exciting and revolutionary company that is changing the industry of real estate, manufacturing, and housing. And just before we get started, just full disclosure, Dalmore is a broker-dealer, and BOXABL is a client of ours, so this isn't a recommendation or an endorsement to purchase any securities, although I'm a huge fan personally, as I know so many of you guys are as well. So Galiano, good to connect again. And I wanted to start by just kind of learning a bit more about your history, what you're about. You're a super interesting guy. And your family is also, your dad, super interesting, really interesting history. I want to kind of hear kind of like what the last 10, 15 years were like for you that kind of like led up to where we are today.
First question, I think my mic, I may have dropped it during the dance, so is my mic okay right now? No?
Let's see.
How's that? I need some technical assistance. Fell out of my pocket. One moment, please. Testing. Maybe we need a redo now.
We do a redo?
Is this thing on? Because this fell out too. Hello? All right.
Okay, yeah, I think we're good now. So, yeah, let's pick up where we left off.
Well, it's good. I think we started a little early. So
We did start a little early.
Catching up on our time now.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Not yet.
Hello.
There we go.
All right,
okay, we're back.
That's much better. So sorry about that. When you come on stage, if you're going to dance, just test your dancing. Rehearse your dancing beforehand. But anyway, great to see you, Etan. This is, our investment bank. Absolutely amazing. Highly recommend to any founders that are looking to do crowdfunding. And of course, BOXABL. We are a company trying to dramatically reduce the cost of housing through our technology and our factory-built room modules. But you asked about my background starting off, and really my background is just nothing to do with building construction at all. It's kind of entrepreneurial startup stuff. So I've had a few successful businesses and many other not successful ones, but one of the bigger ones was back in about 2014. Actually started a Bitcoin exchange. Did really well with that. Very exciting business, especially back then when Bitcoin was so new. And then after that, started that out in Connecticut, and then eventually decided to move to California and saw what was going on with marijuana. And this was right around the time when they were going from medical into recreational legalization. So really exciting, crazy industry to get involved in. So I dove into that head first and ended up with pretty big operation doing marijuana farming, hash oil production, wholesale distribution, lived out on a farm in the middle of nowhere with my family. And while I was doing that, I started working on BOXABL on the side. And eventually realized only going to get so far in life selling weed. BOXABL is a really massive opportunity to actually have a huge impact on the world and hopefully help millions of people. So decided to take the leap, took my family, moved to Vegas, and ran full speed. And now we've been in an absolutely massive factory producing houses for about a year now.
Wow, that's quite a journey. I have a almost 17-year-old son. His name is Gal, who is an engineer. He's an entrepreneur, and I enjoy working with him. And I know that your partner, co-founder, is your father. Tell me about that. How is working with your dad, building this next chapter of what you guys are focused on?
Yeah, working with my dad, really amazing. I mean, couldn't have dreamt of being able to hang out with my dad all day, working, especially now that I have kids, I kind of understand, what it means. He's an engineer with a background in intellectual property licensing, where for the past 30 years, he's had a business of inventing stuff, patenting the inventions, and then kind of selling those inventions. So he's had a lot of success in that. And we kind of came together and decided to be the operators of this business, which all started from his invention. So working with him is really great. We have really complementary skill sets. He's more on the design and engineering side, while I'm, a lot of business, marketing, and other things like that. So pretty cool. We've worked together a few times in the past. Back when I was in, high school, I used to spend a lot of time at his office, and then we kind of reconnected later on after, those other businesses I mentioned, and are, doing BOXABL now.
And how did BOXABL come to fruition? I mean, was it your idea? Was it something you and your father were talking about for a while? How did you guys decide to kind of get in the space?
Yeah, well, actually, the original idea came many years ago when Paolo actually tore down the childhood home that I grew up in, and he rebuilt a house on the property, but he used modular construction. So traditional modular construction, where you have these wide loads that ship in the factory, and they're built with lumber frame, wood, and nails. That's how he built that house. And when he did that, he just saw all the problems with building construction and got the idea to fold the house up initially. So then sometime in 2017, when I was in California, and I think he was just moving from Connecticut to Vegas, we started talking about the idea again and decided, let's give it a shot. So we, at first, just created a little website, put it out there, started marketing with some renders, started getting some interest, and eventually we got our big break when the Builder Show in Las Vegas, which is a really big trade show for building construction products, invited us to bring a casita, or bring a house out to the show. We didn't actually have casitas back then. We had nothing. So we got invited to the show, and we had a meeting and said, are we able to do this? Should we agree to it? We said, yeah, let's do it. So we agreed to deliver this house to the show. It was like 6 or 9 months, and then we went and figured out how to build the first prototypes. So we built the first prototypes, which were actually not casitas. They were bigger 40-foot units, and we delivered those out to the Builder Show, and people got interested, and things continued to kind of accelerate from there up until about a year ago when we turned on this first factory. So the first factory is a 170,000-foot building. We've got several hundred employees now. We produce houses every day, and it's been a really exciting journey that kind of keeps accelerating. And of course, we have really big expectations here and really big plans for the company. We think that we can mass produce housing at a scale and a speed and a cost that the world has never seen before, and probably have a really big impact.
Fascinating. And why did you choose equity crowdfunding, Regulation A, rather than explore more, I guess, traditional sources of financing?
When I started, I was just kind of looking around in the dark, never having raised money for anything before. Both Paolo and I had funded all our own projects, but with BOXABL, we realized, the amount of money we would need to achieve this was absolutely massive, and we needed to bring in outside investment. So I started looking around to traditional investors, venture capital, all that, and really just didn't like kind of the reception I got. I didn't like the terms that were proposed to me, and I started noticing what was going on with equity crowdfunding, and at a certain point just said, you know what, let's give this a shot. Worst that can happen is it won't work, and we'll move on. but sure enough, it did work. And we did the initial Reg CF offering and started selling. And all of a sudden, we were like, wow, this is really powerful. And we kept doubling down and doubling down. And it just gave us so many benefits and really not a lot of downside. We had, of course, the ability to kind of retain full control and creative direction of the company. All the investors that we ended up with became basically cheerleaders, promoting our company, bringing awareness to it. And then the marketing that we had to do to get the awareness to find the investors ended up paying off in other areas. So we never even considered all that, but now we have over 150,000 potential customers on our wait list, and just like crazy amount of interest, resources rolling in. A significant number of our employees found out about us from the social media marketing, and they ended up coming in as a result of that. So it pays off to have the awareness of the company, and we wouldn't be here today if we had gone the traditional route and not had such an emphasis on marketing and getting the word out. We would not have been able to grow to where we are today. We would not have had as many resources as we do because not as many people would have known about us. So I absolutely love it, and we're going to continue down that path for sure.
Amazing. And one thing that's really unique about your offering, and we were able to kind of achieve that was a really good example of this idea of co-listing, of syndication, right? It's being able to house your offering on your own website and therefore be the sole beneficiary of your own marketing and promotional efforts, right? But at the same time, we were also able to kind of build a syndicate, right, amongst some of the other marketplaces out there. Tell me about that experience.
Yeah, so there's a number of different ways to raise money with equity crowdfunding. There's platforms out there where you can list your company and get in front of their audience, or you can do it directly on your own website. With the help of companies like Dalmore, that's totally easy to do, and I think they even have their own software that will enable investors to come in and invest on your own website. So we started out on a crowdfund platform and then quickly realized that if we kept the investors on our own website, we could really control the messaging. We could control the marketing to them. We could retarget them with pixels, email communications, and it was much more effective. So we transitioned from the crowdfund platform onto our own website, and that just continued to be successful. But eventually I realized that this was a numbers game, and we needed to get people to find out about us, because if people weren't going to find out about us, then they weren't going to invest. So we said, all right, let's take another look at the platforms. They have these big captive audiences, and so I reached out to basically all of them and said, hey, we're going to do this offering. We'd love to list on your platform. And we ended up getting Start Engine and Republic both to agree to put us on their platform at the same time, as well as listing on our own website. And I think that just really helped more people find out about us so that we could get more, volume of investments faster. And, those guys are really great. And it's, one thing to go and do an equity crowdfunding directly on your own website, but a platform's a great way to do it as well. There's a little more hand-holding there, especially if you're just getting started and want to kind of test it out.
Yep. How important is marketing and promotion for the success of the offering, and how do you guys approach your own marketing of the offering? Yeah,
marketing is everything, because if you don't have that, no one's going to know who you are. So of course you have to start out with a great project, a great company, but you really need to get the word out. So for example, one of the reasons I'm wearing this hat right now is not for safety. It's just to kind of capture people's attention and maybe get them to stop scrolling on their phone for 1 second and pause on our video, so then the algorithm can pick it up and push it out to more people. So you really need to have a company that can be understood by a group of people, and then you need to get in front of them and show them what you're doing. So the way I think about it is you need to get views. Do almost anything you can to get the views. And then once you have that traffic, you want to capture those leads through getting them to input their information, you know, their email, their phone, maybe with a social media pixel. And once you've captured those leads, then you start remarketing to them. So, you know, if you take a look at BOXABL stuff online, not only are we, you know, working really hard at this business, but we're doing stuff to keep it interesting and keep people entertained and keep them finding out about us. So, you know, we do funny stuff. If anyone has any funny ideas, let me know, and pretty much we'll go and do them, because we're just trying to spread awareness so that we can get more people on our team. And it's just worked so well for us. I think we're one of the more successful, you know, equity crowd funds out there. And, you know, that's all due to, you know, mostly organic social media marketing, where we were able to get in front of people and really show them this is what we are, this is what we're doing. And then, you know, beyond just that initial marketing, you know, we've been successful in getting the business up and running, producing houses, selling houses. So, you know, once you get their initial attention and then you come back and deliver on your promises and achieve milestones, then things kind of start to snowball, and it gets better and better. Because, you know, when someone scrolls through their phone and they see this unfolding house and they stop for a second and say, oh, that looks really cool, I want to look at this unfolding house video, then they go in and they start looking at what else you're doing, and they see, oh, there's a lot more to it than this, and there's a lot more great stuff going on, and then you can really start, you know, selling to them, whether it's an investment or a product, or you're looking for a supplier or employees. All of it all pays dividends with marketing.
And so I think you guys have raised over $75 million so far from retail investors. Is that where you're at now?
Yeah, so the total raised amount is over, I think, $140 million right. From combination of Reg D, Reg CF, Reg A offerings, basically working through all the various SEC exemptions that allow you to raise money through, you know, general solicitation to people. Yep. And, you know, that's been something that has, you know, really the sole method for funding the company to date.
And for new entrepreneurs out there, I mean, you guys are a super success story in the crowdfunding industry. What would be your advice to an entrepreneur considering equity crowdfunding for their business, whatever it might be?
I would say absolutely, in most cases, it's a great way to go about it, especially if you have a product that a large group of people can understand and relate to, or you have access to, you know, a community that's super relevant to your project. Definitely consider it, look into it. Pretty much all the reasons not to do it that I've heard, I can't really take seriously. It's just like so many pros to equity crowdfunding, not a lot of downside. And at the end of the day, you know, what do you have to lose? When I first started doing the equity crowdfunding, I just thought about it and I said, you know, worst case, no one buys the investment and we close it down and we go somewhere else. But, you know, really happy now that we decided to take that leap and give it that try and put ourselves out there kind of to the public, because it's just been massively, you know, a game changer for our company.
And how valuable do you think was all the marketing that you've done that kind of goes into marketing the raise, and how has that impacted the business, the opportunities, the exposure that BOXABL has out there today?
I think that, you know, that has multiplied our trajectory and our success, you know, many, many times over. It's incredible, because if we had just taken money from, you know, a regular, you know, type of investor that didn't require marketing, we wouldn't have been focused on the marketing, and the word wouldn't have gotten out about us. We wouldn't have this massive reach on social media. We wouldn't have these millions of social media impressions. We wouldn't have a 150,000 person wait list for our product. We wouldn't have, you know, people all around the world interested in this, and just nonstop opportunities rolling in. It's become kind of a marketing machine where we're just farming all these resources and leads and opportunities that just roll in through our website, through social media, through the phone, you know, every single day. So it's been great.
And what is next for BOXABL?
Well, to step back a little bit, the idea behind BOXABL is that we are going to mass produce housing on a scale that no one's ever seen before or that's been possible before. Of course, everyone's familiar with housing issues all around the world, so housing is too expensive, it's not available. And the current methods are just simply not a solution for that. No matter how much money you throw at the traditional building methods, you're never going to be able to build fast enough to meet demand. So when we looked at building construction, we said, why aren't we building these houses the way we're building everything else? And that's on a factory assembly line, using mass production, using automation, economies of scale, all these efficiencies you get from an assembly line that are well known and proven in every other product, whether it's an iPhone or a television or a sneaker. Assembly line is how it's done. So we looked at it and realized the reason was the buildings are too big to ship. They're huge. If they're too big to ship, then you can't build them in a factory and you have to build them on site. And of course, there are guys out there building buildings in a factory, but generally they're shipping these wide loads, which are very expensive to ship. So they kind of lose all their efficiencies back to that shipping cost. So our core innovation was we're going to fold these houses up so they can ship as a legal highway load and not be oversized and not incur that extra fee. And all of a sudden, that's going to open up our shipping radius and allow us to mass produce in a factory. So we've gotten in and we've not only dialed in that shipping innovation, but we've changed how we're building the building materials used, the manufacturing methods. We've been able to streamline everything to produce houses faster than anyone else. And we're right now just kind of proving that out. So we have this first factory. It's actually, we just got our second building. So it's a total of 300,000 square feet of manufacturing space. We got in there and we're just dialing everything in, all these new building materials, all the ratings we need, and making the case for that bigger level of scale, where we can get to the level you see with the automobile makers, whether it's like a Ford factory or a Tesla factory. These plants are massive. They put out usually 1 car per minute. They have huge bulk purchasing power, huge levels of automation, extremely efficient, the Henry Ford assembly line style of production. And that's something that we feel BOXABL can apply to housing, and no one else really can. So the next step for us is we're looking towards a much bigger factory. We're starting off in this 300,000-foot production facility where we're projecting to build thousands of homes every year, but that's not what we need to really achieve these economies of scale so that we can push the price down and the manufacturing speed up to the level where it's an absolute game changer for the whole planet. So we're looking forward to a next step of getting into basically an absolutely massive assembly plant, hopefully right down the street here in Las Vegas, where we can start cranking out thousands and thousands and thousands of houses and just have a huge impact. And another thing I'll mention, people may see the BOXABL Casita product on our website, which is kind of a little tiny house, but the BOXABL vision goes far beyond that. We have a building system here where we think we can build most buildings most of the time by stacking and connecting different room modules together. So the Casita, the little tiny house, that is a starting point for the company to really dial things in. But the grand vision is really most residential building types on most of the planet, whether it's a multifamily apartment building or a single family residential. We think it's a fit for the BOXABL system, and we think we can do that in a way that's compatible with assembly line mass production to get the highest quality levels, the lowest cost, and the most rapid deployment, and hopefully, increase the supply of housing to the point where we're able to actually push prices down and make housing massively more affordable for the whole planet.
Wow. Well, we'll end with one question I wanted to know. You have an intense electric personality, and I think everyone that sees you recognizes that. And, what drives you? I know success. I know you've had success over and over and over again, with the different projects you guys have done in the past. You're fortunate and blessed to be working with your father, and you really enjoy that as well. But what type of spiritual practice, what type of energy work do you do that kind of keeps you in your condition with that electricity and that positive outlook that I think is completely connected to your success? How would you kind of describe that?
Yeah, I really just absolutely love working. I don't have too many hobbies. I basically, spend time with my family and then work. And it's kind of addicting for me, and I really love it, and wouldn't have it any other way. if I ever try to go on vacation for a few days or something, I might become a little depressed. I need to get back and go back to work. And then, of course, when you have as much action and excitement as we have at BOXABL on this, crazy growth trajectory, it's nonstop action. There's just so much crazy, exciting stuff going on every day. And at the end of it all, we're on a mission to just have a really big impact and make a really big change. So that's what I want to do. I don't want to do anything small at all. I want to go insanely big and just have a huge impact on as many people as possible, and that's what's going to make me happy at the end of the day.
I love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's okay, he can fix it. BOXABL is doing all the right things, again, for all the right reasons. If you're sensing a trend here about housing, that's because housing matters. And when people come together as a community and they invest with their pocketbooks and with their hearts, great things get solved. So for now, we're going to take a 30-minute break. Please join me back here at 2 o'clock. We're going to discuss more things about housing with Mr. Dutch Mendenhall, founder of Rad Diversified, and an interesting conversation. So we'll see you in 30.